because I'm doing a column this weekend on Leeds.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of what it is that Bielsa wants, what he does. And it's this man-marking system that he has, this obsession, this desire to mark people. It feels naive, and I watched it. I was 50 seconds into the game. It was a free kick for Manchester United. Maguire's on the ball. And there's 5 runs made by independent Manchester United players, just pulling Leeds players all over the pitch. And it feels like, well, they allow the opposition to dictate too much. They're too obsessed with the opposition. They've got good players, Leeds. I don't believe they'll go down. And I wouldn't really want to be playing them again this weekend. But
Really?
I mean, he makes so many changes, confusion. They have a midfield player that goes down injured. We know about the injury to the head injury to the midfield player. So rather than just change the midfield player, he switches Dallas, the left back, to right back. He puts Ayling from right back to central defence, and he puts one of the central defenders into midfield, and then brings the substitute on at left back. That's 3 positional changes to make one change. Now, why would he do that? How would you even think of that? That just gives you an idea of the detail that he goes into to make things happen. And I feel if you're a player, I mean, what was remarkable in that game against Manchester United, they were 2-0 down, and he wants to change the state. He wants to change in a situation, a bit like taking you two out of the studio and swapping you with the producers and saying, do you know what, we're going to do something. The show's not going well. We're going to change it. But people
right.
People then have to think.
Audience.
People have to think out of the box when that happens. They don't get kind of stayed and this is boring. I'm not enjoying it. I don't. This is the same old, and that's what's happening to these Leeds players. But I would like to see some consistency.
So
sort
what
of
is
rhythm,
Bielsa? Is he a genius or is he crazy?
I think that sometimes with geniuses it's close to madness. And what I see is not something, if I was a senior player, I'd be saying, boss, really? Do you want me to go in all the way? If I'm a central defender, do you want me to end up with the goalkeeper? If Ronaldo goes all the way back to their goalie? Yes, I do. I wouldn't really agree with it. You get pulled all over the place. So I think it must be an enjoyable experience. I bet they believe in everything they do. I think they'll be fine because the Leeds fans, when they play at home, I mean, if you've seen it last week against Manchester United, the way the fans were unified, the tackles going in all over the pitch.
Yeah, but they're leaking goals, Martin. They're leaking goals. But before we leave this,
Bamford's not been available.
Tell me, are there Leeds United players at the moment when Bielsa asks them to don't do that anymore, do this? No, move from that position, move to this position. Are there some of these Leeds United players that are going, what is he up to?
They believe in the manager, the man himself, for what he's given to them. He's given them that step up into the Premier League. He's their leader. And I think he'll lead them out of danger. They're looking over their shoulder. We just talked about Burnley.
Do you think they should change, Martin? You think, because that font of all managerial useful information, Gabby Abonglaher, seems to think that they need to change and change dramatically because they're far too open and they're going to keep on getting beat 6 and 7s. Can they change?
I can't really understand why it is that Forshaw is dragged right out of midfield marking somebody. Does he not think to himself, hold on, I'll just let him run on to another player. I'll keep the shape of the team. We run less distance. We're more compact. We're more difficult to beat. Instead, this is obsession. I'm going to stay with my man. Well, we all get beat. I mean, when it brings to light, the Manchester United scored their very first goal of the season from a set piece. Everyone's man marking. They're not very good at it, to be honest. And if you're going to man mark all over the pitch, it comes down to your weakest link. It comes down to the one that can't run very quickly. And they'll isolate you and the good teams will beat you. And that's where I'd just like to see a change. It's kind of like, okay, we don't always have to go in after somebody. Look, in the main, man mark, but don't be obsessed with it. Let's pass over occasionally. And they don't get that balance right. And Jim, I think when you're running around in a frantic manner trying to win the ball back, you press a button to do that. You're aggressive. You're tough. When you get the ball back, you've got to press the button immediately to then be that, you're holding a baby and you want to protect it with your life. And you've almost got to cut yourself in half at times as a footballer. But the button, they don't press it. They get the ball and they run. It's frantic.
Right. Is it
and
like
they lose possession.
Chickens?
So it's kind of like, okay, forget it. Let's concentrate on how we beat the opposition. We've got enough ability. There's enough good players in that Leeds team to win games of football.
So is Bielsa tactically wrong right now in the way he goes about it?
He's had success. He's missing players. Bamford, what we just talked about, the goals.
Man, is he?
I feel he needs to adjust. Like all great managers and great leaders, they need to make adjustments. And I think he's a bit obsessed with his system. It's basically his way or the highway. And I think he needs to adjust. And I think he'll see that. But they will be a difficult proposition for Spurs coming up this weekend. But they're only interested in stopping you play. They've got to concentrate.
Can Leeds, with this group of players that have had it drilled into them for the last 2 or 3 years to play in a certain way, can they flip on a sixpence to be able to?
They can.
I don't just necessarily
because what I'm asking to do is far easier.
Yeah, because there's an argument raging. Jim's making a point that I made the point yesterday, which is if you've got a philosophy and you believe in that philosophy, and to a point that philosophy's got you to a level of success, when adversity comes, do you immediately depart from that philosophy and change the way you look at things, or do you try and overcome the adversity? I'm in the camp where you stick with what you believe in.
Well, I think it's too complex the way they've been asked to play. I think it's too complicated. I think it's unravel it and make it, simplify it.
But what's more complicated
what I will say is that these players, though, will be a whole lot better for the experience. I mean, you look at someone like Dallas, how much he's improved as a player. He can play in multiple positions.
But if it's complex
and
now,
all in the same 30, 45 minutes.
But man, they leak goals.
Correct. That's why I'm asking for change.
But if it's complex,
and I'm asking for him to simplify.
If it's complex now, wasn't it always complex? And wasn't it complex when it was successful? So why is it any more complex now when it's becoming difficult? And a lot of that difficulty is because key access players, not Bamford, but Ayling or Phillips, key access players that have underpinned this.
I think in front of goal, there's been key moments in the Manchester United game where they could have scored goals. I think Harrison has a great
But they would still have conceded goals, so but without
looking at individuals, though, Martin, you say he needs to change. If he doesn't change,
simplify.
How can they avoid relegation?
Well, when you're looking over your shoulder, you look at it and you think, well, okay, if they keep winning behind us, we're going to go down. So he's got to find results from somewhere. But all I'm asking is just to simplify it. The players are equipped with so much information. So take a step back. It's not necessarily about the manager here. It's like them changing a little bit the way that they go on. They're the ones on the pitch. They don't have to follow it to the law. They can actually make the decisions for themselves. And I think if they did a bit more of that, they'll get results.
You're going to be watching Leeds United into the small hours? Tonight into tomorrow morning?
I won't be doing it tonight because I had my fill of it last night.
I'll bet. Okay. Well, it's live and exclusive in talkSPORT. Tottenham will travel to Leeds United tomorrow, 12:30. You don't want to miss that.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.